The message arrived without warning. It did not come with loud alarms or flashing lights. It came quietly, slipping through the deep space networks that connected the great alien empires. At first, many thought it was a mistake. Others thought it was a trap. But when the signal repeated itself, clear and calm, the galaxy had no choice but to listen. The words were simple. We are losing. We need help. The message came from the United Galactic Council, a group made of the oldest and strongest alien races. For thousands of years, they had ruled the stars. They had fleets that blocked suns and weapons that could break moons. They had never asked anyone for help. Never. Now, they were asking humanity. In the great council chamber, the alien leaders sat in silence. Tall beings of crystal skin, massive creatures of iron flesh, silent minds that spoke without sound. All of them stared at the glowing symbol of Earth floating in the center of the room. Humans, a young race, a loud race, a divided race. One council member finally spoke. His voice was slow and heavy. Why did we send it to them? Another answered with shame in her tone. Because everyone else is gone. The enemy had no name that could be spoken easily. It moved like a storm across the stars. Entire systems went dark in days. Fleets vanished without sending a single warning. Worlds that stood for 10,000 years became silent ruins. The council had tried everything. Bigger guns, stronger shields, smarter tactics. Nothing worked. And so, with no pride left to protect, they sent the message to Earth. Many expected an answer within minutes. Humans were known for fast reactions and endless talk. But this time there was nothing. Hours passed. Then a full day. Then two. By the third day, fear filled the council chamber. They are ignoring us, one alien said. They are afraid, another added. They are weak, a third whispered. Old records played on the walls. Humans arguing in meetings. Humans fighting each other. Humans failing again and again before finally standing back up. The council remembered how they once laughed at humanity. 1,000 years ago, when humans first reached the stars, they were not welcomed. They were watched, tested, judged. Too emotional, too violent, too unpredictable. So the galaxy kept them at a distance. Now, as another star system fell to the enemy, the council felt regret for the first time in centuries. On Earth, the message had reached every major city within seconds. Screens lit up. Radios went silent. Military channels locked down. The words were played again and again. We are losing. We need help. Human leaders did not answer right away. They did not speak to the public. They did not make promises. Instead, they listened, deep underground. In rooms built to survive the end of the world, humans studied the message. Scientists broke down its data. Generals traced enemy movements hidden between the words. Old soldiers stared at star maps and saw something worse than war. They saw extinction. A single question filled every room. If they fall, who is next? 3 days passed in silence. The galaxy took that silence as a no. Then, on the fourth day, every listening station across known space detected something strange. At the edge of human-controlled space, shadows began to move. Alien sensors struggled to understand what they were seeing. Massive shapes appeared, then vanished, then appeared again closer than before. Space bent slightly around them, like the universe itself was stepping aside. What are those? A council scientist asked. Before anyone could answer, the human signal arrived. It was not loud. It was not long. It was not proud. It was a single transmission sent on all channels. A human figure appeared on the council's main screen. He wore a simple dark uniform. No medals. No symbols of rank. His face was calm, his eyes steady. He spoke slowly, using basic trade language so all could understand. This is Earth. The council leaned forward. We receive your call. The human continued. We needed time. One alien leader asked, time for what? The human looked straight into the camera. To decide how far we are willing to go. The room fell silent. We do not fight for glory, the human said. We do not fight for power, but we do fight for survival, and we do not abandon those who ask for help." Behind him, lights turned on. The council gasped. Rows of ships filled the screen. Not dozens, not hundreds, thousands. They were dark, heavy, and scarred. Some looked old. Others looked unfinished. All of them were armed. "This is not our full strength," the human said. "This is what we can send right now." An alien whispered, almost afraid to speak. "How long until they arrive?" The human answered without hesitation. "They are already moving." At the edge of known space, the shadows became real. The galaxy realized something in that moment. Humanity had not stayed silent out of fear. They had stayed silent because they were preparing for war. The Alien Council had seen many fleets. They had studied thousands of species and their war strategies. They had faced enemies that could crush planets in hours and armies that could enslave civilizations. They thought they understood fear. And yet, what they saw now made even the oldest leaders uneasy. Human ships moved through space differently, not in straight lines, not in predictable formations. They seemed alive, shifting, adapting, flowing like water. Sensors tried to measure them. Calculations failed. Patterns collapsed. The council whispered among themselves. "They are unusual. They are unpredictable. They are dangerous." But it was not until a smaller human squadron approached the edge of enemy territory that the truth began to reveal itself. The alien leaders had prepared to laugh at them. They expected confusion, hesitation, mistakes. Instead, the humans moved with calm precision. They did not panic when enemy drones swarmed. They did not fire blindly. They scanned. They analyzed. They struck where it would hurt the most. And then, just as quickly they disappeared. One council member, a creature of pure thought, struggled to process the data. "They are strategists?" "Yes," another replied. "And they do not fight for conquest. They fight to protect." Across the galaxy, the enemy had grown bold. They assumed humans were weak, slow, and emotional. When they first attacked, they met resistance, but not from humans directly. Instead, the enemy fleet was met by ghost-like ships that vanished and reappeared, striking only when the enemy was most vulnerable. Supplies were destroyed, communication lines severed, retreat paths blocked, and always, the humans did not leave anyone behind. One alien general muttered, "They are not like us. They are different." And that difference made the council uneasy. For centuries, the galaxy had underestimated species like humans. Too small, too fragile, too divided, too emotional. Yet somehow, this young race had learned something the elders had not. They had learned how to survive. In the next battle, the enemy fleet tried to overwhelm the humans with sheer numbers. 5-1, 10-1. The humans did not flinch. They deployed shields to protect the weak. They lured the strongest enemy ships into traps. They struck only where necessary. And when one of their own was damaged, they risked everything to save it. The Alien Council watched in disbelief. "They are merciful?" "No," replied a scientist. "They are disciplined. They do not kill for pleasure. They do not fight for pride. They fight to protect life, theirs and others." And then the human admiral spoke. His voice came through encrypted channels, clear and calm. "This is not our fleet," he said. "This is our first wave." Silence fell over the council chamber. "What do you mean?" asked the crystal skin leader. "They are just the beginning," the human said. "The rest are on their way." At that moment, sensors picked up movement beyond the known border of human space. Hundreds of massive ships, far larger than any previously recorded, appeared. Their design was unlike anything the aliens had seen. Smooth, dark, and powerful. Every surface bristled with weapons, yet they moved like living things, silent and deadly. The aliens stared in horror. They're coming here?" "Yes," the human admiral replied. "And by the time you understand them, they will already be where they are needed." The council realized the enormity of what they had done. They had called upon humanity expecting help. They expected a small, limited force. They expected words, maybe a few ships. Instead, they had awakened a power that no one could ignore. And then the enemy made their move. The first skirmish began at the edge of the Orion Belt. Enemy ships tried to destroy a small human convoy. They fired massive plasma cannons, tore open shields, and destroyed 3 of the smaller vessels in moments. But the humans did not panic. They used tactics no one had seen. They split their forces, creating fake targets. Gravity wells pulled enemy ships off course. Hidden missiles destroyed engines silently. And when the enemy flagship tried to retreat, it found its path blocked by 2 massive human battleships that had appeared out of nowhere. The battle ended before it truly began. The enemy fleet retreated, stunned. The Council's youngest member, a creature who had never seen humans up close, whispered in disbelief, "They are not afraid, not even now." The oldest member, who had fought wars across galaxies, shook his head. No one expected this. We thought they were a race to be ignored, a race to be defeated easily. But we were wrong. Dead wrong. The human admiral sent one final message before moving deeper into enemy space. Prepare your fleets. Humanity has arrived. And with that, the shadow of a young race stretched across the galaxy, a shadow that even the oldest empires now feared. The galaxy had never seen humans fight like this before. The enemy thought they knew war. They had conquered star systems with fleets bigger than entire moons. They had enslaved countless species with fear alone. But humans were different. They did not fight for glory. They did not fight for pride. They fought for survival. And for each other. The human admiral's fleet moved like a living organism. Ships of all sizes formed shifting patterns in space. Smaller vessels acted as scouts, weaving through asteroid belts and drawing enemy fire. Heavier ships formed protective lines, shielding vulnerable transports carrying civilians and supplies. Every move was calculated, yet flexible. Every ship was important. Every life mattered. In the alien council chamber, old leaders watched in disbelief. "They are organized," whispered one. "More than we ever imagined," another replied. "They fight as one mind," said a third, voice trembling. The first real battle began near a destroyed star system, its sun still burning weakly. The enemy fleet had outnumbered the humans 5-1, confident that sheer numbers would crush them quickly. They were wrong. Human ships darted between enemy formations, striking at engines, communication relays, and weapon systems. Each strike was precise, never wasted. When an enemy vessel attacked a small transport, a nearby human frigate moved instantly to block it, taking massive damage to protect the weaker ship. Explosions lit the darkness of space, yet humans never panicked. They had a doctrine that no other species understood. Protect first. Strike second. Win last. Enemy commanders watched as human ships sacrificed themselves strategically. One frigate, heavily damaged, rammed an enemy cruiser to stop it from destroying a colony ship. Another ship created a temporary energy shield using a new technology, something even the aliens could not explain, that absorbed incoming fire for an entire squadron to escape. The aliens whispered in fear. "They are merciless, but in a strange way," said one general. "No," corrected another, "they are merciful, and that makes them unpredictable." Inside the command bridge of a human battleship, a young captain spoke quietly to her crew. "Remember your training. Protect the civilians. Protect each other. Do not fight for revenge. Fight to survive. Fight to save lives." And they did. Even when enemy fire tore through their hulls, humans continued to coordinate. Ships that were supposed to retreat stayed to shield others. Pilots refused to leave the wounded behind. Engineers risked their lives to repair shields in the middle of battle. Humans were not machines, they were alive, but they acted with precision no machine could replicate. The enemy flagship, massive and bristling with weapons, thought it could crush the human fleet with a single strike. Its super laser charge, glowing ominously, but the humans anticipated it. Dozens of smaller ships moved in perfect synchronization, drawing the flagship into a trap. Mines hidden in the debris field detonated, crippling its engines. EMP bursts temporarily shut down its weapon systems. And before it could recover, a human destroyer struck a critical weak point, forcing it to retreat. In the alien council chamber, no one dared speak. The council had seen invaders destroy worlds, Fleets crushed civilizations. Yet here, the humans had turned the rules of war upside down. That they do not fight like anyone else, muttered a scientist. They fight to protect, not to destroy, said another. And they are already teaching the galaxy fear, whispered the oldest leader. Then came the human admiral's message, transmitted across all channels. This is only the beginning. We do not fight for conquest. We fight for life. And those who threaten it will find no mercy. The council watched as human ships moved deeper into enemy space. They were not just attacking. They were reshaping the battlefield. Every maneuver, every strike, every shielded convoy was part of a doctrine centuries in the making. The enemy began to panic. Systems that were supposed to be safe collapsed. Fleets that thought themselves invincible found themselves trapped and destroyed. And always, the humans adapted, learning, evolving, becoming faster, smarter, and deadlier. The galaxy had underestimated them for too long. The first whispers began among alien races. They are not weak. They are not soft. They are legends in the making. And at the edge of human space, where shadows had once moved silently, the fleet gathered once more. The admiral looked at his ships, scarred in the first battles but still strong. Prepare for the next wave, he said. We fight not for ourselves, but for everyone who cannot. And we will not fail. Somewhere deep in the enemy empire, commanders read the reports and felt an unfamiliar sensation, fear. For the first time in their history, they realized that humanity was not just another species in the stars. Humanity was something else entirely, a force that even legends could not have predicted, and the war had only just begun. The stars themselves seemed to hold their breath. The human fleet had entered the enemy's territory. Entire worlds had fallen silent. Planetary defenses, once thought impenetrable, had been destroyed in moments by the shadow of humans advancing across space. Now, the main enemy fleet gathered, massive and relentless. They outnumbered the humans 10-1. And yet, the human admiral did not hesitate. Form ranks, he ordered calmly. We fight for survival. We fight for life. Nothing else matters. The enemy unleashed their full fury. Plasma beams lanced through space. Missile swarms tore apart smaller ships. Energy shields flickered and burned. Ships exploded in fire and debris, drifting silently in the void. Yet the humans held. They did not panic. They did not retreat. Each ship acted as part of a greater organism. Fighters darted between larger vessels, disabling weapons. Cruisers created moving shields to protect transports. Even when ships were critically damaged, their crews fought on, repairing systems in the middle of battle, risking their lives for the fleet. The enemy flagship roared, firing a massive energy cannon directly at the human front line. The council members watching from afar gasped. Every alien species believed that one shot could wipe out the leading human ships. But the humans had planned for this. Human engineers had created a new weapon, a gravity trap. The lead ship deployed it at the perfect moment. The massive beam was pulled into the trap, dispersing harmlessly into the void. The enemy flagship shuddered in disbelief. This is impossible, a commander shouted. They should have been destroyed. They adapt, whispered another. Every time we strike, they learn. As the battle raged, the human fleet used every advantage they had. EMP bursts shut down enemy ships temporarily. Hidden drones sabotaged engines. Missile barges struck with pinpoint accuracy. Every strike saved thousands of lives, not for glory, but because humanity fought to protect, not to destroy. Amid the chaos, a human captain remained behind deliberately. His ship was heavily damaged, barely functional, but it carried the critical mission: destroy the enemy's core supply station. His crew begged him to leave. No, he said, we fight for everyone out there. Someone has to finish this. With calm precision, he maneuvered into the heart of the enemy formation. The core station glowed menacingly, a heart pumping weapons and ammunition into the fleet. A single calculated strike would end it, but the risk was total annihilation. The humans did not hesitate. They fired. The explosion lit the darkness of space like a second sun. Enemy ships scattered in shock. Systems collapsed. Supplies were gone. The first real defeat of the enemy fleet was complete, but the victory was short-lived. On the edges of the battlefield, the enemy empire's true power began to stir. A massive signal flashed across the human network. A new fleet, far larger than the one they had fought, was approaching. Its ships were colossal, bristling with unknown weapons and moving with terrifying speed. The human admiral's voice echoed across the fleet. This is not the end. Prepare for the next wave. Humanity never surrenders. Humanity never retreats. Humanity fights for everyone who cannot. The alien council could hardly believe what they were witnessing. These humans, who had seemed weak and inexperienced, had turned the first battle into a legend. Ships thought destroyed rejoined the fight. Pilots who should have died saved others at the cost of their own lives. The enemy could not break them. They could not understand them. They are unstoppable, one council member whispered. They fight with something we have forgotten, another said. They fight with honor. And in that moment, the galaxy realized a new truth. Humans were not just survivors. They were protectors, warriors, legends. Even the enemy, seeing the courage and strategy of humanity, began to fear. They had underestimated this young race. They had assumed humans were soft, weak, divided. They had assumed they would flee. But humans did not flee. Humans did not surrender. Humans did not fight for power. Humans fought for life itself. And the stars, which had witnessed countless wars, watched in awe as the human fleet continued to advance, unbroken, unshaken, and unstoppable. The first great battle of humanity's legend had ended. The enemy had been beaten back, but the war had only just begun. In the council chambers of alien leaders, the same thought repeated over and over. They are no longer a young race. They are the hope of the galaxy. And if they continue like this, they will command the war itself. The first battles had ended, but the war was far from over. Humans had fought bravely, turning the tide of skirmishes and shocking the galaxy. The alien council, once doubtful of humanity, now watched in awe. But deep in the shadows, the real enemy had been waiting, silent, patient, and ancient. It was an empire older than most stars. Its fleets had enslaved civilizations before humans even walked on Earth. Its weapons had shattered worlds and broken entire systems. It had been feared across galaxies, a name so terrible that species only whispered it. Until now, this empire had watched humanity's rise quietly. It had underestimated them at first, thinking humans were weak, emotional, and chaotic. But the first wave of human attacks, the battles in the Orion Belt, the destruction of enemy supply corps, they realized they had made a grave mistake. The true enemy awoke. From their hidden strongholds, massive warships launched across the galaxy. They moved with terrifying speed, unlike anything humans or aliens had ever seen. Each ship bristled with weapons designed to destroy stars, shields that could absorb the mightiest attacks, and fleets of drones that could annihilate entire planets. Across Earth, humans were already mobilizing. Their scientists worked day and night, building new ships, upgrading weapons, and developing strategies that no one had imagined before. Civilians, even children, helped in labs and factories, producing supplies, repairing damaged vessels, and sending messages of hope across the galaxy. The human leaders knew the stakes. The first wave of battles was only a test. The enemy had held back their true power. Now, the fight would be for the survival of entire civilizations. Yet, humanity did not panic. The human admiral convened a council with the top commanders. Their faces were calm, even as reports of the enemy fleet arrived. The enemy feared us before, he said. They thought we were weak. Now they know differently. But fear can be a weapon, and we will use it. We fight not for glory, not for revenge, but for everyone who cannot fight for themselves. Across the galaxy, the aliens who had once doubted humans began to act differently. They rallied under the human banner, trusting their strategies and following their commands. Rival species that had once fought each other now worked together, combining fleets and resources to stand alongside humanity. The enemy struck first. Their fleet arrived near a cluster of human colonies, weapons firing and worlds burning. Many thought this would break humanity's spirit, But instead, humans counterattacked with unprecedented coordination. Ships moved as one. Smaller vessels distracted and harassed the enemy. Heavier battleships delivered precise strikes to cripple the enemy's weapons. Convoys carried survivors out of danger, while the main fleet struck at the enemy's command centers. Every human action was deliberate, efficient, and fearless. Old alien leaders watched, speechless. "They are more than a species," whispered one. "They are a force of nature." The enemy tried to crush them with raw power. They unleashed superweapons designed to vaporize planets. But humans had anticipated them. Hidden shields absorbed the worst of the attacks. Countermeasures disabled the enemy's weapons before they could fire again. Ships that seemed destroyed reappeared, repaired and ready to fight. The galaxy began to understand a new truth. Humanity did not just fight to survive. They fought to protect. They fought to save lives, not for revenge or conquest. They inspired those around them, and they gave hope to the hopeless. On Earth, people watched the first reports of the battle and cheered. Children waved at screens showing human pilots risking everything. Scientists smiled as their innovations saved thousands of lives. Soldiers prepared for the next wave, confident because they knew they were not alone. The enemy, sensing their plans unraveling, grew desperate. They unleashed their deadliest weapon, a massive star killer, capable of destroying entire systems. Its approach caused panic across allied worlds. But humanity responded with calm determination. The human admiral sent a message to the Council of Aliens. "Do not fear. We have faced impossible odds before. We will face them again. Together, we are stronger than any weapon. Together, we are unstoppable." The true enemy had awakened, but they had awakened too late. Humanity was ready. Their fleets were stronger, their strategies sharper, and their resolve unbreakable. The galaxy watched as this young species, once underestimated, prepared to face the most ancient and deadly force it had ever known. And in the hearts of humans, one thought burned brighter than any fear. We fight for everyone, and we will not fail. The stage was set for the greatest battle in the history of the galaxy. Legends would be written, not in words, but in courage, strategy, and sacrifice. The galaxy had changed. Once, humans were considered weak, unorganized, and unpredictable. Now, they were the commanders of war. Every allied fleet, every species that had once doubted them, now followed human strategies without question. The Alien Council watched in awe as humanity orchestrated battles that no one else could imagine. The enemy had brought its full force. Star killers, massive fleets, and ancient war machines had been unleashed. Entire systems trembled under the threat of destruction. But humanity did not panic. They did not react emotionally. They planned, calculated, and acted with precision. The human admiral stood on the bridge of the flagship, resolute, looking out at the massive armada forming around them. "Today," he said, "we do not fight for territory. We fight for life. Every move we make, every fleet we send, will protect those who cannot protect themselves. Every victory will save billions. And every risk we take is for the galaxy." The fleet moved like a living organism. Smaller ships acted as scouts, darting ahead to detect enemy traps. Cruisers and battleships formed protective layers around civilian transports. Engineers worked in real time, repairing shields and weapons mid-battle. Pilots risked their lives to save others. Humans were not machines, but they acted with perfect coordination, their bravery and strategy combining into something almost legendary. Across the galaxy, allied species who had once fought humans now followed their commands. The old rivalries faded as every fleet became part of a single plan. The humans did not ask for loyalty. They earned it through their actions. The first engagement of the day was near the Orion cluster, where enemy fleets had concentrated the strike at a critical supply system. The humans had anticipated this and set a trap. Enemy ships advanced, confident in their numbers and firepower. But as they approached, hidden human ships emerged from asteroid fields and debris belts. Gravity traps pulled enemy vessels off course. Missiles struck with unerring precision, and energy nets disabled the enemy's weapon systems. The enemy flagship attempted to counterattack. Firing a devastating beam meant to obliterate the human command center. But the humans were ready. Two massive battleships deployed shields in perfect alignment, absorbing the full force. Smaller fighters attacked from multiple angles, targeting weak points no one had predicted. The flagship was forced to retreat, damaged and humiliated. Meanwhile, humans coordinated rescue operations. Transports carrying civilians and refugees were protected by layers of ships, moving swiftly through dangerous zones. Pilots and soldiers risked everything to ensure no life was lost unnecessarily. Every action reinforced one truth. Humanity fought not for power, but for protection. Alien species who had witnessed the battle whispered among themselves. They are not just fighters. They are leaders. They are the reason the galaxy still survives. And the humans continue to advance. They struck at enemy supply lines, communication hubs, and key positions, breaking the enemy's coordination. Entire fleets surrendered without a fight when they saw the human strategy in action, knowing resistance was futile. Yet humans never enslaved them or destroyed worlds unnecessarily. They offered mercy, but demanded accountability. The enemy, desperate, unleashed their deadliest weapon, a superweapon capable of destroying entire star systems in seconds. Panic spread through allied worlds. Civilizations thought it was the end. The human admiral remained calm. Focus your fire. Protect the civilians. Disable the weapon before it fires. We do this together, or we do not survive at all. Every ship followed the plan perfectly. Engineers hacked the weapons control systems. Fighters destroyed power conduits. Heavy cruisers absorbed its energy blasts, while the human admiral personally led the strike to destroy the weapon's core. In moments, the superweapon was neutralized. The enemy fleet was thrown into chaos. The humans had not only survived, they had taken command. Their strategy, courage, and unity had turned the tide. The galaxy began to see what the Council had already realized. Humanity was more than a species. They were the heart and mind of the galaxy's defense. Across the stars, children learned human names in schools, not as rulers, but as heroes who had saved billions. Alien historians wrote about their strategies. Pilots and soldiers told stories of courage, sacrifice, and brilliance. Humanity had earned a legend, but even as the humans celebrated their victories, they knew the war was not yet over. The final stronghold of the enemy awaited, with weapons capable of ending entire solar systems. The galaxy's fate still hung in the balance. The human admiral looked at the stars and said quietly, almost to himself, "The enemy believes in fear. We believe in hope. The galaxy believes in us, and we will not fail." For the first time in centuries, the galaxy followed one young species willingly, knowing that in their command life, not destruction, was a priority. Humanity did not rule, but they led, and in that leadership, they had become legends. The final battle had come. The enemy's last stronghold loomed like a black sun at the edge of the galaxy. Its fleet stretched across millions of kilometers, bristling with weapons that could destroy worlds in seconds. Star-killer cannons rotated slowly, their glow promising annihilation. The galaxy held its breath. Humanity did not falter. The Admiral's fleet approached in perfect formation. Every ship, every pilot, every soldier knew their role. Civilians were safely evacuated. Fleets were in position, and allies from dozens of species followed human orders without question. The humans were not just fighting. They were commanding the galaxy's defense with calm, unstoppable precision. "This is it," the Admiral said. "We fight for life, for every world that cannot fight for itself. And when this ends, the galaxy will remember why humans lead." The enemy opened fire. Stars seemed to shudder as beams tore across space, striking massive ships. Explosions lit the darkness like new suns. Enemy drones swarmed the fleet, attempting to cripple communications and navigation. But humans adapted instantly. Fighters weaved through laser storms, dodging impossible attacks. Heavy cruisers formed shields around weaker ships, absorbing damage that would have destroyed any other fleet. Engineers patched shields and weapons mid-battle. Every loss was minimized, every life protected. Then came the critical strike. The Admiral led a daring assault on the enemy superweapon, a massive cannon capable of annihilating an entire system. Smaller ships distracted and disabled the defenses, while heavier ships, piloted by the bravest humans, charged directly toward the weapon. The enemy thought it could stop them. It unleashed its most destructive blasts. Massive explosions ripped through space, destroying several human ships. Yet, the humans pressed forward. They fought not for revenge, not for glory, but to save countless lives. The admiral himself commanded the final strike. His ship moved through a storm of fire and destruction, weaving past enemy weapons with perfect timing. Engineers guided missiles to critical points, while pilots shielded him from attacks. And then, with a precise and daring maneuver, the superweapon exploded, sending a shockwave across the enemy's stronghold. Enemy fleets faltered. Systems collapsed. The remaining ships surrendered. The galaxy was free. The Council of Alien Leaders, who had doubted humanity at first, watched in awe. They saw ships that had survived impossible odds, fleets that had coordinated with unmatched brilliance, and leaders who had made life, not power, the ultimate priority. Humans did not celebrate with conquests. They did not enslave the defeated. Instead, they helped rebuild. They guided allied species, shared knowledge, repaired damaged worlds, and ensured peace. Their victory was total, but not in the way anyone had feared. It was a victory of protection, courage, and honor. Stories of humanity spread across galaxies. Children learned human names as legends. Pilots and captains told tales of courage and sacrifice. Scientists recorded their strategies. Humanity had written itself into the memory of the universe. The admiral stood on the bridge, looking out at the stars. The battles were over, but the legend had only begun. He spoke quietly, a message sent across all channels. When the galaxy cried for help, humanity did not answer with words. We answer with action. We answer with courage. We answer with life itself. Let this be written in legends. Across the stars, the message was heard. Hope returned to countless civilizations. The galaxy remembered what it had often forgotten, that strength alone does not make a species great, but courage, wisdom, and compassion do. And in that moment, humanity was no longer just a young race. They were guardians, leaders, legends. The enemy was defeated. The fleets returned home. Civilizations rebuilt. And through it all, humans stood as a beacon of hope. Legends have been written, not in the blood of conquest, but in the protection of life, in courage against impossible odds, and in the unbreakable will of a young race that refused to surrender. The galaxy would never forget the day humanity commanded the stars. The war was over. The stars were silent again, but this silence was different. It was not the quiet of fear or death. It was a calm after a storm, a calm filled with hope. Humanity had faced the greatest threat the galaxy had ever known, and had won. Across the galaxy, civilizations rebuilt. Planets once burned by enemy weapons now thrived. Alien species who had once doubted humans now told stories of bravery, strategy, and honor. Children learned about human heroes, not as rulers, but as protectors. On Earth, celebrations were quiet but meaningful. Scientists, engineers, and soldiers, all who worked tirelessly during the war, stood together. Streets were filled with families, but the focus was not on victory. It was on survival, compassion, and the future. The human admiral walked through a command center, observing holographic displays of star systems. He paused at one screen, showing the remains of the enemy's stronghold. "We did not fight for power," he said quietly. "We fought to give others a chance to live. That is what makes us human." In the rebuilt fleets, new leaders trained under humans' guidance. Humans shared technology, strategies, and knowledge with allied species. Every fleet, every civilization, learned how to protect life rather than destroy it. Humanity's methods became a standard, a new doctrine for peace and defense across the galaxy. Even in the council chambers of alien leaders, human influence was clear. Decisions that had once been dictated by fear and power were now shaped by wisdom and cooperation. Humanity had not taken control. They had earned respect and trust. Their leadership was voluntary, moral, and undeniable. The galaxy remembered the sacrifices. Pilots who had given their lives were honored in monuments orbiting key planets. Scientists who had developed the weapons that saved millions were celebrated. Engineers who risked everything to repair fleets mid-battle were immortalized in story and song. But perhaps the greatest legacy was in hope. Species that had given up on survival now had proof that even the young and underestimated could rise to greatness. Entire civilizations inspired by humanity began to explore, defend, and thrive. In a quiet moment on Earth, the Admiral received a message from the Council. The galaxy looks to humanity now, not as rulers, but as guardians. Your legend is written, and it will endure for millennia. He smiled, not for pride, but for the truth of what humanity had accomplished. Guardians, he whispered, that is all we ever wanted to be. Beyond Earth, human fleets patrolled sectors that had been abandoned or endangered. Scientists explored lost star systems. Scholars taught alien civilizations about cooperation, history, and resilience. The human race had expanded not for conquest, but for protection and betterment of all life. In the farthest reaches of space, alien children looked up at the stars and learned the stories of humans. Heroes who fought impossible odds, protected the weak, and commanded the galaxy not with fear, but with courage. And in those stories, humanity became immortal. The galaxies would tell these tales for thousands of years. Humans were no longer just a species from a small blue planet. They were symbols, guardians, legends, and as long as humans remained vigilant, the galaxy would know one truth. When life is threatened, when darkness spreads, humanity would rise. Not for glory, not for conquest, but to protect. The stars shone brighter, not because of the battles fought, but because humanity had lit the way. Their courage, honor, and compassion became the guiding light for every species. In the silence of space, one thought echoed across the galaxy. When the galaxy needed heroes, humanity answered, and their legend will never end.